Good morning, olá. Vamos iniciar então. Olá. Olá. Hello, good morning, welcome all. Okay. Deixa eu ver. Okay. Let's see if Rodolfo is coming in. Has he seen? We're waiting for Rodolfo. Hello. There he
Good morning,
is.
everyone. I'm here.
Good
Let's start our
morning.
brunch.
Okay, let me just put this up here, Rodolfo, so we
Yeah,
can and have our talk.
it's a new experience for me. Talking English. Start a brunch by Instagram. Let's go. Let's start it. We can start
Okay,
now.
well, whenever you want. People are going to be coming in during the whole interview. It's our initiative here, and our objective is to go overseas to English-speaking countries so they can share what we do here at the Academy, and that's the main idea.
It's a great idea. I think we gonna make a different life that can search, can find, can we can talk a lot about this. Let's start. Let's start. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, people. We are here with our project, Brunch with Brazilian Academy of Labor Law. Today, we are gonna talk with this great man, this great justice, and I'm going to start to talk in English. I'm not very well with my English, but I will start it. It is a great pleasure for me. It's a great pleasure that I, Rodolfo Pamplona, initiate this special edition of the Café da Manhã com a ABDT, or as I said, Brunch with the Brazilian Academy of Labor Law. Now, with our version entitled Emergency Labor Legislation in Unprecedented Times, the ongoing Brazilian experience facing the repercussion of the COVID-19 pandemic. An English version of our traditional series, with an interview with my good friend and fellow academic of the ABDT. Now, ABDT is the, how can I we say it in Portuguese, but it's the Brazilian Academy of Labor Law. This is the great, the fantastic Sérgio Torres Teixeira. Sérgio is justice on the beach of the 6th Regional Labor Court in Recife, Pernambuco, Brazil, and a professor of law at the Federal University of Pernambuco and at the Catholic University of Pernambuco. He will be speaking to us about the present situation in labor relations in Brazil, considering the effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Sérgio, my friend, my idol, my good morning to you. How are the things in Recife?
Oh, thank you so very much, Rodolfo. Good morning. Good morning to our audience. It is a great honor, a great pleasure to be here in this special version of our breakfast with the Academy. We're having brunch now since the time zone problem right now. But the whole idea behind this special version is exactly to try to reach countries which are not, whose members, whose citizens are not fluent in Portuguese, so that the Academy can explore and broaden our borders. That's the main idea. So I will try to speak as clearly as possible. I am a little bit rusty. Okay, you have to give me some slack here. Give me, oh yeah,
You're better than me.
No, yeah, but yeah, I grew up in the U.S. between the ages of 5 and 14. I studied at an American school, and I came back here to Recife. So until then, like 25, 35, 40 years ago, things were okay. My English was really
Okay.
great. I haven't been practicing that much in recent years, mainly when I go on vacation with my brothers or an occasional lecture. So I am rusty. I ask everyone to have a little bit of patience. I will try to speak slow and point out the main subjects that we are going to examine today, which is really, really interesting. I think we're going to have a great morning. Talking about our emergency labor legislation here in Brazil is very important. We are going through very difficult times worldwide, and it'll be a chance for people in other countries to have an idea of what we're facing and how we are facing
Yeah.
this situation here in
Yeah.
Brazil. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it'll be a great morning. Thanks a lot, Rodolfo.
Okay. It will be a different experience for me, but I think I will like this very much. So let's start off our conversation with your introduction to our subject, Sérgio. How are we in Brazil facing the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on labor relations?
Okay, well, it's a huge impact, Rodolfo.
Yeah.
Really huge.
Yeah.
I think in more developed countries like our European friends and in the U.S., because we have a lot of structural problems here in Brazil,
Yeah.
and so it really, really, really has been affecting us. And we're going through unprecedented times. We've never faced something like this. Not our generation, not the younger generation, not even my mother's and father's generations have
Yeah.
seen anything like this.
It's a silent war.
Yeah, it is a silent war. It's a silent war. And it's been affecting all of us. Everyone has been affected. Some more than others, but everyone. Like
Yeah.
businesses have been closing. Workers have had to workers and employees have had to change the way they work,
Yeah.
working from home. And like I'll give myself as an example. As a professor at the universities, I'm giving classes, online classes,
Yeah.
remote classes.
That's a shopping
And
site.
exactly. And as a judge, we are ruling over in virtual sessions also. So it's really changed. And what's incredible is that we have had to adapt to these changes so suddenly. It's like early March, everything was normal. Then from one night to the next, everything changed. And we really just had to adapt. And it's interesting because we're not only adapting to new working conditions, we're adapting to life-threatening situations, especially those first attenders, the people who are working with medical issues and health issues, and even the people who we really don't think of at first. But we think of the nurses and the doctors, and they are definitely our heroes. But we have to think also of the people who are doing what we would call ordinary jobs, but we see how essential they are now. From
supermarkets, drugstores,
supermarkets, the drivers of trucks who bring our supplies in, the guys on motorcycle and bicycles who
Uber Eats, iFood,
and the other apps and bring us food at home, and the danger they face every single day, every single moment. And so it's a very tough time, but it's very inspiring also. Like I feel inspired by our heroes, the doctors and the nurses, but also by these ordinary people doing their ordinary jobs, but in extraordinary fashion. That is really, really, really enlightening, and I really appreciate all of them. And we're all going to have to adapt. And these times, tough times.
I think we can agree with the person, these people who's talking. Ordinary, not anymore.
Exactly. They are extraordinary. They are our heroes. We see their value, and that is so important. I think it's been a lesson. I really don't think any of us will come out of this the way we were before. We will all have to mature. We will all have to see how everyone in our social fabric is very important. And that just leaves me in awe for all of us to just admire these people who Like we would think ordinary before, but now we see how extraordinary they are. They're real life heroes. Real life heroes.
We
And
I gonna give some hugs and kisses to our friends that we
I
are
see
seeing here.
Bento
Bento
Ecolano.
Ecolano, Leandro
I see him
Fernandes,
there, yeah.
Felipe Bernardes, Luciano Martinez, Fabiana Pereira. There are a lot of people. André Jobim. It's a great pleasure to receive you all. Erica Brandão. We have a lot of people here. Here we like. I'm liking this. I'm having a good time here, trying to speak in English. It's not sharing with Pamplona. It's sharing with Pamplona. It's not a papiando. It's a chatting with Pamplona. Let's go. But continue.
Yeah. So, well, we're facing a situation, and there's an extra. There's like a twist because we have had a whole bunch of new legislation, Rodolfo.
Yeah.
You know, in the last 50 odd days, we have had over 40 provisional measures. Provisional measures would be in Portuguese medidas provisórias. Yeah, which are provisional norms that the executive branch of the federal government can edit, and they'll have a certain period of validity, and they are supposed to be norms that we need in urgent times and relevant situations.
Yeah,
and so
we are in a relevant
which we are living in,
urgent times,
which we are living in.
We don't see a lot of. It's like a pandemic, a legislation pandemic. We are
it is.
Yeah.
Imagine, look, over 40 provisional measures in 50 odd days. That is about an average of one provisional norm every 16 hours, Rodolfo. So you can imagine how our lawyers, how our judges, how our students, how our businessmen, and how our workers and employees are adapting to this new legislation. It's practically like every half day, a little bit over half day, we got a new norm. We got a new measure, and we have to understand it. We have to interpret it and apply it. So it's very, very trying, very challenging times here in Brazil. But we understand, we have to understand the government's doing what they have to do. They have to bring on this new legislation for us to be able to have some sort of regulations in these urgent times. So it's very interesting, very challenging, especially for those in the legal field. And that's why this opportunity to speak with the Academy, speak with you, it's such an interesting a chance for us to send our message abroad of what we are facing here in Brazil.
Yeah, but now some of these new articles in the emergency labor legislation has been challenged in the Brazilian Supreme Court. Can you point to the people that is seeing out? Can you point out the leading cases and their effects on our labor relations?
Okay, that's a great question, Rodolfo. And we have had a lot of cases that have been filed straight to our Brazilian Supreme Court, Supremo Tribunal Federal, in our Brazilian Supreme Court. And
my friend Felipe Bernardes is joking with my Baiano accent.
But it's great. I think it's great. I can understand you fine.
I speak English with Baiano accent. It's a good thing to do because Bahia is the center of the world. So we can talk in English, in Portuguese, in Baianese. There are a lot of languages.
I always mention Bahia is very lucky, okay? Yeah. They have great artists like Gilberto Gil, like Ivete Sangalo, and they have Rodolfo Pamplona.
And Pernambuco is a great place too because they have Sérgio Torres Teixeira. Continue, man. You're the guy.
Okay, let me throw some numbers out for you to understand, for the people who are watching, our audience to understand. Okay, a little bit over 50 days. We haven't reached 60 days, okay, since we started reacting to this pandemic in Brazil. And we have had, in this period of 50 odd days, 1,086 lawsuits filed directly to the Supreme Court here in Brazil. 1,086 directed to the Supreme Court. Out of this 1,086 law cases that were filed to our Supreme Court, 49 of them have been what we call here in Brazil actions for the declaration of unconstitutionality, which will be our ADINs, or ações diretas de inconstitucionalidade. we would translate it to actions for the
Okay.
declaration of unconstitutionality. And that is 49 in a little bit over 50 days. There's practically one per day. Just imagine, straight to the Supreme Court, asking for a Supreme Court to rule over, give jurisdiction, saying if this norm, out of those provisional norms, if it's constitutional, if it's in harmony with our Brazilian Constitution, or if it's going against any of our articles of our Constitution. So 49 out of those 1,086 cases filed in the Supreme Court. And out of those 1,086 cases, we have already had, till yesterday, I counted up till yesterday, 1,685 decisions by our justices of the Supreme Court. Imagine this. We're talking about 50 days. We've already had over 1,600 decisions, okay, of various levels. Okay, some are monocratic, individual by the rapporteur, and other ones are collective decisions. But still, 1,685 decisions. That is huge. That is huge. I mean, no Supreme Court, no constitutional court in the world works like that. And so that is something that we really have to take in mind, which is pretty big picture of our Brazilian judiciary. I think that there's no other country in the world that has a judiciary which works so much in terms of this huge quantity of cases that we are facing every single day. And so that is really something to note, you that are abroad who don't know our reality here in Brazil. I mean, we have a huge amount of litigation here and a very large amount of cases. But let me point out, like Rodolfo asked, the main cases, okay, that have been
let me interrupt you. It's a good idea that Josimara Lobato said it. You can use, you are seeing now, you're watching now this chat. Share this chat at this moment with this little triangle below. You can put this and you can share to your friends that are in other countries, your English speakers as well. You can share with this triangle. It's a good idea. I was talking to the people that is watching the hour now. Continue, man. You're the guy.
Okay.
I thought it was a great
You're
idea.
the boss.
Too.
You're the boss.
No. I'm only the interviewer here. You can say it. You're the guy.
Okay. Let's say, okay. There have been a lot of rulings, okay? I think 3 are the most important ones, okay?
Yeah.
We had a ruling through the action for the declaration of unconstitutionality, AD 6363, which was very interesting, okay?
Yeah.
What was the basic idea here?
No doubt.
Okay, our Constitution, Article 7, Item 6, it sets a rule, a basic rule, that the reduction of salaries can only go through if it's through collective bargaining, okay? Negotiations through syndicates and through unions. It's a basic rule of our Constitution. And then one of our provisional measures, okay, the 936, it previewed in some of the articles that the employers and employees would be able to negotiate individually, including the possibility to have a proportional reduction in salary and in work hours. And so that it became a big question if that was constitutional or not, because our Article 7, Item 6 establishes that it has to go through collective bargaining. And so this was examined first by one justice who was a rapporteur, and then it was sent to the collective group of the justices which make up our Supreme Court, and they ruled over that question, saying that it is constitutional. You are allowed to negotiate individually, in considering this situation as an exception because of the emergency, because of the pandemic. And so it allowed us to interpret our Constitution considering our social situation of the moment. So in this situation where we need to have more flexibility in terms of negotiation, individual negotiation instead of collective negotiation is constitutional, especially considering that our provisional measure 936 is established a lot of conditions for this individual agreement to be valid. And so there's a lot of small requirements to make it valid, which we have to interpret. Okay, it's an emergency situation. We want to keep jobs. We want to preserve jobs. We want to preserve companies. And so in this emergency situation, it is allowed to go through individual negotiations between employer and employee to set these rules. So it was very interesting, especially the fact that it understood that it was constitutional because of the social situation we are facing caused by the coronavirus pandemic. So that was very interesting. Okay, that was a ruling over ADIN, our Action for Declaration of Constitutionality 6363. Another one was a ruling we had over ADIN 6341. It was another action for the Declaration of Constitutionality. It was very interesting, but there was a more of a political sense. What our Supreme Court decided is that the federal government can establish rules about social distancing, about which type of business is essential, but also they understood that it was constitutional for our state governments and for our mayors, our municipal mayors, city mayors, to also establish rules within the dimension of their authority. So I was very interested that the other decisions, more political, less labor, but it was very interesting that our Supreme Court established the necessity for harmony between the three levels of government: municipal, state, and federal government. A very interesting decision. And a recent decision that we had, Rodolfo, very interesting also, it involved a group of cases that were actions for the declaration of unconstitutionality. It was ADINs 6342, 6344, 6346, 6348, 6349, 6352, and 6354. And so we're talking about 6 or 7 of these actions. They were mainly judicialized by political parties, which is interesting. Political parties of different views. That's very interesting how you have left-wing and right-wing parties working together in a sense. They have a main goal, which is to declare the unconstitutional certain norms of these provisional measures. And what was examined was the provisional measure 927 and exactly. Provisional norm 927, specifically Articles 29 and Articles 31. What did Article 29 say? It said that the contamination of a worker or of an employee through through his work of the coronavirus, we would not, if he got infected, we would not automatically think it was a occupational disease. It didn't say that it would not, it couldn't be, but it would not be thought of automatically as an occupational disease.
But this is matter for another life. It's a big trouble.
That is a big tough subject.
This decision.
Yeah, but so what our court decided, our Supreme Court decided, they suspended the effect of Article 29 because it has to be. We have to be more careful in that sort of measure, because you imagine all types of workers and employees who are touching people and treating people with coronavirus.
Doctors, nurses. We're gonna make them in a hospital this thing too.
Exactly. And so that Article 29 was suspended. It's legal effect as of now. We'll have a definite decision later on, but that was very interesting. And also Article 31 of the provisional norm 927. That article was the one that talked about our labor auditors, and it said that their work now would be limited to to give orientation to employers and employees. And that was also considered unconstitutional at this first examination. It's not a definite. We didn't go to the merit yet, but it was a provisional decision, and that was suspended also. So those are two articles which really we have to be careful with what the dimension they will reach. And so those were very, very interesting decisions, recent decisions by our Supreme Court. And we're just waiting for new rulings. But look at the amount of questions we have. Over 40 of these provisional measures, as medidas provisórias, in 50 odd days. It's such a complex of new legislation.
Yeah.
So it's totally natural for lawyers, for judges, for justices to have many doubts of exactly what is the reach, what interpretation should we give to one or another article. So I think so far our Supreme Court has acted very well. They've been provoked so much in all these cases, but so far the decisions have been very, very well based, and I think will give us a good north for us to go on from here.
Sérgio, my friend said, do you think all this new legislation it's enough to face all of the problems that pandemic is causing? What else do we need now?
Okay, well, I'm going to go straight forward with you here, okay?
Yeah.
Rodolfo, straightforward, okay? I honestly think that the amount of legislation that we have had is necessary, and it has been of a quality better than I expected. I'm totally honest with you, okay? We have some very good norms coming out. Some mistakes, some norms which really don't make sense or were oddballs, along with all those other norms were pretty positive considering our situation, but better than I expected, better than I would expect beforehand. But it's much less than what we really need. But what we're gonna need, because the problem is with this pandemic, every day we have novelties, new things come up, and we have to adapt to this new situation. And then we adapt to that new situation, and the next day something new comes up. We're like you said, we're fighting a silent and invisible enemy. Yeah. And we're learning every day. Our medics and our medical authorities are learning every day. That's why we're having to adapt. And so I think so far, the legislation has been overall good, with some curveballs, okay, with some bad balls in there, which is normal for any government to have some norms which aren't of better quality. But what this is going to ask for all of us, especially in our legal field, judges and lawyers, is that we have to be up to the challenge. We have to understand that the government is trying, at least they're trying, they're going to make mistakes. They have made mistakes, and we have to correct those mistakes as they go along.
Some kind of big mistakes too. Okay, but continue. You're the guy. Okay. I'm on listen.
And we have to understand one thing, which I think is important also. I would love to see some of the measures that other governments abroad have been doing, and I would mention some of the measures, not all, some of the measures that I've seen the federal government of the United States do. But we have to understand that our neighbors up north are much richer than we are. They can spend $1 trillion plus to try to save companies, and we don't have that much money. But I would like to see some more measures, because honestly, I think that what we've given now can try to help our current situation, but this situation is going to change tomorrow. It's going to get worse, and I think worse for a few months. I would love to see something that the federal government has decided, which includes things like not only giving checks directly to people like our government has had with a much smaller amount of money, but those loans that they have given to companies of certain sizes, and which they condition the paying back of this loan to this decision. If all of that loan is invested in keeping the employees paid, their salaries paid, then that loan will be pardoned after, I think, 1.5 years or 2 years. And that is incredible, because that really does have the objective to maintain the employees and the workers. I would love to see something like that. I understand we're a poorer country. We don't have the financial strength that the U.S. has. But something like that might be very interesting in these trying times, because I really do see, especially the small companies, Rodolfo, small companies around our neighborhood, you know, that small grocery store, that person who sold this specific item, they are really suffering with this social distancing. And it's understandable. They have to do it to save lives. But it's something it's very tough on these companies and on their employees.
Yeah.
So if we could go more in that sense, I think that it would be very important for our social, our society in terms of advancement.
Okay. But here in Brazil, we live in a tug of war between those who defend social distancing and those who want to reopen all sorts of business, including jeans academies. In what position are the employees and workers? Are labor rights being respected?
Well, it's a very challenging situation because, okay,
Yeah.
we have both businessmen and workers and employees who want their activities to restart. They want to go back because they're suffering. The companies, many companies are closed. Only the ones that are doing essential activities are open. And you want to go back to work. You want to go back to your life. But we're talking about something that is very, very important, which is at stake, which is the life and health of our population. So it is a tug of war. It's very, very difficult. You know, our employers, they want their companies to go back and start working again. Our workers want to go back to the companies and want to start working, want to regain their salary level that they had before. But we have to understand that we're talking about the biggest asset that we humans have, which is our lives, our lives. And that really has to be put on top. And so we have to think we can do everything that does not jeopardize lives. And so we have to work around that. It's very, okay, life first, and along with life, what dignifies life, our human rights. And we have to think, and we have to, it's very interesting, we have to start from the perspective, whatever we do we're doing it to preserve lives and to preserve our human rights. That is how we have to think. We don't have to think, no, I want to do this because I want to restart our economy so our economy can go strong. That is secondary. That is really secondary. We have to put it out. Number one is life. Okay,
Yeah.
The lives of our citizens, the lives of the Brazilians who are contaminated now, who will get infected tomorrow. That is number one. That is absolutely number one. And whatever restrictions and limitations we have, whatever flexibility that we have to think we're doing this, we're limiting, we're restricting, we're giving a little bit of flexibility to save lives, to save and protect human rights. That is the perspective that we have to start. If you start from that perspective, if you have that base when you're going forward, then you will see that you're going to have tough decisions. You're going to have really tough decisions. But those decisions will be enlightened by the fact that you chose, above all, health, lives of the people who make our society. I think that's the way we have to go. That's what we're going to make a lot of tough decisions. It's practically an absolute truth that we're all going to become materially poor after this event. All of us, every single one, even from the rich to the poor, we're going to be poor after this event. But that's what we have to do. We have to sacrifice these material elements in order to save lives and to maintain our human rights. That's very important because, like the Supreme Court decided, we can change things. We can have a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
Because of this urgency, because of this emergency situation, we're not going to be able to think, no, from now on, it's always going to be like this. Always the employers can negotiate individually, and let's forget our unions and syndicates. No, we can't think like that. In this situation, that is allowed. Because it is necessary. It's a necessary method that we have to adopt in order to save lives and to protect human rights. And starting from that basis, starting from that perspective, I think it clears. Of course, we're gonna face new challenges every day. But if we start from this perspective that the most important thing here, above all, is to save lives, to guarantee health, and to guarantee the protection of human rights, then we can understand. Okay, we're gonna have restricted. We're gonna have to limit this. We're gonna have to allow that to be open because we have companies, we have businesses that are open, but they are open. Why? Because we think our government authorities think that that activity is essential to our society. And that's how we have to think. And eventually, Rodolfo, I think this will be over. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to be next week, next month, next semester, maybe 2021. Who knows? We don't know. But we will eventually overcome this. And when we do, I think we will be better humans. I think we will understand from the sacrifices we will make now will define who we are going to become after this pandemic.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I'm talking a lot at lives here, and I'm saying that will not return. We won't return to a normal place. There is no more normal. The normal is the past. We are building a new normal. We are building a new normal. We can be better human beings. We have hope now. Hope is the only right that we can never let down. But let's talk. We are part of the Brazilian labor judiciary. Let's talk about Justiça do Trabalho. Né? Let's talk about what's about the Brazilian labor judiciary. What sort of problems are the labor judges facing, and how are they responding to the problems caused by the coronavirus pandemic?
Okay, Rodolfo. Well, I'm very proud to be part of the Brazilian judiciary. I've been a judge, and we've been judged for more than 25 years. Yeah. So it's part of us, actually. And I'm telling you right now, I think labor judges are heroes too. And I am seeing that because of their concern, of the way they are interpreting every case that has come to them. We have had very interesting cases caused by situations involving the pandemic, which is really, really interesting. And what makes me so proud of our judges, especially, okay, our lower court judges, our first level judges, they are real heroes. They're really heroes. How they are responding, because for a case to get to me on the second level, on a panel of judges, usually takes a while. Until it gets to the Supreme Labor Court, it'll take a while. But our first responders in the judiciary are judges on the first level, and they are responding in an excellent form. The decisions I have seen, very pondered decision, because in a situation where everyone is stressed out, we're at our limits, the judges, the lawyers, and you're facing eventually death-saving or death-threatening decisions, because some of the decisions that labor judges are making will have an effect on lives right now that are on the line. Because usually you think, no, if you're a labor judge, you don't rule over cases which life or death cases. You usually don't think about that. But in this situation, in this emergency, with all this danger that lurks around every corner, we are seeing cases that involve measures that will save lives, for sure. Okay, one of the things that I have seen in multiple cases are class actions, usually proposed by unions and syndicates, trying to impose on companies and employers that if they want their workers to work, they want their employees to go to work, they have to give them those individual protection equipment, what we call EPIs in Portuguese, which is equipment that they will need to protect themselves from the coronavirus, so that they won't get infected. And so, if we're talking about the guy who's taking out the trash, okay, if we're talking about the guy who's at the grocery store or at the supermarket, if we're talking about the guy who's riding a bike from carrying your food that you ordered from a restaurant, working on that the iFood platform, those not only are nurses, are doctors, are paramedics, but those people who still are working, they need to work in conditions which offer a minimum of safeness, of health conditions. And so we've seen a lot of class actions in that sense. And here in Pernambuco, I've seen some of my colleagues give decisions, urgent decisions, and where they say that, okay, the company wants to work, it is classified legally as a essential activity. Great, but you have to protect your employee. You have to protect your worker. And so you can call him to work, but you have to give him the equipment he needs to at least try to avoid the infection, at least try to prevent the contamination from the coronavirus. And another very interesting decision I saw, Rodolfo, I thought this was really, really interesting, was another class action from one of our syndicates, one of our unions, which were trying to exclude from the responsibility of going to work workers or employees which are classified as people in vulnerable situation. The elders, like imagine a 70-year-old doctor, 75-year-old nurse, or someone who has health problems, okay, who has bad heart condition or has breathing problems. Those people, they might work for a company, for a business that is considered essential, but if we think that they have to attend the call from their employer to go back to work and expose themselves in this environment, I mean, it's practically a death sentence. And so in situations like that, it has to be looked upon individually. It's understandable that, no, okay, that person cannot go, because if he goes, he will be in such a position of vulnerability that he can easily get contaminated, and then his life will be in risk, and his health will be in risk. So that is something interesting. And I had one case that I personally decided, which I thought was really interesting also. It's a little bit different. It was a case where a company decided to pay off its debt with an employee using what our civil procedure code allows, which is to divide that amount. You pay 30% upfront, and you divide the 70% in 6 monthly payments. And so that was decided, and that was the way it was paying off. And in the middle of this period, the pandemic came, and that company had to close down shop, had to just close down everything. And so they argued that because of this emergency situation, they should not be forced to continue paying because they're not working, they're not getting any money. And so they wanted to suspend the payments for like 2 or 3 months. And what I ruled over, I understand that the situation is very difficult, but there's no way you can simply cut payments for 3 or 4 months, because at the other end of the line, you have an employee and his family who depend upon that payment to survive during the same period. And so eventually we found a balance, and we reduced the amount that they would pay for 3 months and add that amount, throw it to the back, so they will pay that back later on. So we found a point of balance, which is basically what our judges have to do all the time, especially in this situation. They have to have a lot of sensibility. They have to understand that everyone's at the limit. And I really, really see that coming. I think people in positions of leadership, like our judges, like lawyers, like our authorities, our health authorities, our political authorities, in a situation like this of crisis, people in position of leadership have to step up. They have to step up, Rodolfo. This is the time. This is where you show who you are. So you're a judge, you're a lawyer, you're a politician. Show who you are now, because the people need you. Our society needs leadership through action, through examples, through models. And so if we show them, okay, it's a very difficult situation, both employees and employers are suffering a lot, let's think this through. What will be the best solution that we won't crush a company, we won't crush the employee, and we will all survive this? And then you go through that angle. I think that is the way that I've seen our judges rule over, exercise their jurisdiction. Like I said, I am extremely proud of our judges, especially the lower court judges, especially our first level judges, our first responders, on how they are acting, on their courage, and they are stepping up. They are heroes. And the lawyers too. The lawyers are part of it. The clerks, those who assist the judges are working hard too. And okay, it's a very sad scenario that we're living in with all these problems with the coronavirus. But I am happy to see how we are responding, how people in positions of leadership like you, like me, like our fellow judges, like our lawyers, how we are reacting. It shows me a better side of the humanity of the Brazilians. And that is very interesting, despite all the sadness that we are facing.
Yeah, I agree, but I want to talk about access up to justice. Is access up to justice being limited in any way, or are the labor judges continue their cases, hearings, and trials as usual? Because we don't,
Oh,
we are isolated.
well, it's an interesting situation here in Brazil. Our National Council of Justice, or CNJ in Portuguese, established rules suspending presential hearings and sessions mid-March until the end of May at least. So we haven't had any presential hearings unless in situations that are very exceptional, especially in the criminal area, But mainly, we have been working. We have been working through the internet virtually. We have had virtual sessions. We have had even telepresential sessions. Today, I participated, Rodolfo. We had our talk, our interview from 8 to 9. Then I went and got on the internet. Went to a room where we were having lawyers give their finalizing statements, their last statements, and we were judging, ruling over that. It was very interesting. It's the second time I got to participate in a telepresential session of our 6th regional labor court here, what we call the segunda turma, our second panel. It was very, very, very interesting. And so we're doing it that way. There has been steps taken towards, and we're trying to regulate and trying to understand how we're going to do it, to have telepresential hearings on the first level. Now, that is a little bit scary. I understand my fellow judges who are very scared. Some called me up and said, Sérgio, how am I going to hear a witness from his house and not know that he's being pressured? And what if he doesn't have internet? What if he doesn't have a computer? How are we going to do this? Okay, those are all very valid questions, and I don't have the answer right now.
Yeah, we don't have the answer.
No,
we are going to learn our way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what we have to realize is that the challenge is there, and we have to step up. Okay, it is very difficult. It's very trying. It is the huge challenge, but we have to be up to the challenge, and we have to do it one step at a time.
Yeah.
We have to ponder. We have to be calm. We have to transmit calmness. Even in this aspect where everyone's nervous, everyone's stressed out, the judge has to not only be patient, but he has to show patience. And so let's do it one step at a time. What I have suggested also is for the first cases, when we get to it, let's start off with where both parties want it. Because we have two values here. We have the value of access to justice. Everyone has the right to their day in court. And we also have to be able to give sentences, exercise our jurisdiction within a duration of time which is reasonable. We can't okay, let's wait. And what if this coronavirus pandemic only ends in 2021? Are we going to have all our cases wait till 2021? We're going to have to face it. I would suggest let's face it with cases where both parties want to contribute, want to cooperate. Let's start there. Very slowly, one case at a time, learning from our eventual mistakes. And I think if we do that, we can prevent a lot of bad things from happening, and we can maintain our courageous image to our society. So that would be my suggestion. If I had like 2 words, I would say be careful, be calm, and transfer your calmness to those who are litigating.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. Well, Sérgio, my dear friends, it looks like we are running out of time of our brunch. What a pity, what a shame. We have such a good time. We have but we would stay until lunch and then dinner. We have to finish our program. Can you give my friend your thoughts in a final statement?
Okay, just to finalize, I see we have a little over a minute left, Rodolfo.
Yeah.
I don't want to
We're
forget to
running all
thank
the
the
time.
Academy. Yeah.
We're
To
gonna
thank the Academy,
fall.
and to thank you, and to thank our wonderful audience. It was such a pleasure here. Like sometimes I forgot I was speaking English, and I explain once again. This is an objective. This is our goal to go overseas, go over boundaries, and to reach countries which aren't fluent in Portuguese. So that was our main objective, and I think we have reached that. But let me just give a final message to the lawyers and the judges who are watching us and who will watch us, and I hope we have our colleagues overseas who are seeing this too. I would end with two words. I would think, remember, be courageous and be patient. Yeah. Be courageous and be patient. Step up, face the challenge, but be patient. Understand that this is tough times. Understand that you're not going to get it right all the time, that mistakes will be made, and we'll try to work from there. We'll learn step by step. I really trust the Brazilian judiciary, the Brazilian society, and especially our workers, our employees who are upfront in all dimensions, from our doctors, nurses, paramedics, the guy who takes out the trash, the guy at the grocery store, the guy who brings us our food, to our lawyers and our judges. Let's be courageous, be patient, and let's keep healthy and save lives. Yeah. Thank you, Rodolfo. It's been wonderful to be with you.
Yeah, our time is up, but we have to say courage and patience. Like Guns N' Roses, let's sing patience. I would like to thank to our great speaker, guest speaker, great professor, Sérgio Torres Teixeira, and our wonderful audience. We at Brazilian Academy of Labor Law really appreciate your participation in this special event. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube too. We have a channel. My name is Rodolfo Pamplona. I'm an academic member and honorary president of the ABDT, our Academy of Labor Law. Saying goodbye. Say goodbye, Sérgio. It's a great pleasure. I was listening and learning and practicing my English with you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
You're the guy. You're the guy.
You're the guy. Bye-bye, Rodolfo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You